Ah, Saints Row. Volition's GTA clone has always held a special place in my heart, offering a series of throwaway crime capers that are just stupid enough to be endearing. Our Ed played 4 hours of the upcoming reboot at a recent preview event, exploring the city of Santo Ileso to see what's new this time around. Keen to hear all about the game, I asked Ed to tell me 4 things he liked about Saints Row, as well as a few things that made him shake his head and go, enjoy. Hey Ed, how you doing?
Hello, yeah, good. Slightly groggy. Sort of feel like an emote we recently added into our Slack, which is like dehydrated Garfield. which is, thanks to you, it's named Desiccated Husk. I feel a bit like that at the moment.
I have similar dehydrated Garfield energy. It's been too hot. But we're here today to speak about a game set in an equally hot location, I imagine. We're talking about the new Saints Row today, which you recently had a hands-on preview of. You played it for 4 hours, right?
Yeah, it was 4 hours right from like the very beginning of the game, I suppose. They kind of just let us loose. I think it was right up until the point where you can kind of start to build your base and start to customize your base, and then they were like, right, it's time to cut it off, I suppose. So yeah, had a fair amount of time with it, which is great, really.
So you've written a really great preview that's up on the website right now, but I wanted to get you on a call just to chat about a couple of more specific things that you enjoyed, maybe a few things that you have some concerns about. Oh, that's spicy. Nice and clickbaity right up top of the video. So you've got 4 things here that you really liked, and what is the first part of this game that you really vibed with? I don't know why I used the word vibe there, but let's just keep it going. What's the first thing you liked?
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that vibe. I really did vibe with the vehicular destruction, which is a real like tongue twister in a way. I don't know why I've written that complex combo of words down. Yeah, I found like Saints Row really shone when you just got in a vehicle that was massive and just smashed into stuff and exploded stuff. So there's like one mission before you can build your base at this like big church. They're like, right, there's some building works going on outside this church. We're going to like take it over. So we're going to just get this massive digger and we're just going to smash into all of their building work. Like these poor construction workers have like really been working hard, and you're just going to go in and just like crash through it all. And I just like absolutely loved it. Even just like weirdly the physics behind it felt really good. Like the explosions look great. There was like some real weight behind just crashing into stuff, which I was quite surprised at. I don't know why, but destruction was good in this game. And again, it wasn't like particularly complex. It is just like the act of smashing into stuff in this game feels extremely rewarding. So yeah, no, I really enjoyed that. And there's quite a lot of bits in missions where you're not in a vehicle, but you're either like lying on top of one.
Oh, right, okay.
You're basically lying on top of one. There seems to be like a mechanic in Saints Row where you can kind of lie on top of them and sort of roll onto your side, onto your front, whatever, and just shoot people from the top of it. And one of the missions gives you like an RPG, and in classic sort of Saints Row AA fashion, I suppose, which we'll get into a bit later, you just RPG, bikes that are coming at you in waves and, things like that. And again, it's just a lot of fun. It sort of takes you right back to like the early 2000s. And there was like another really good mission actually, which might have been my standout of the whole 4 hours, where it was like a side activity. So I could open up my mobile phone and go to like this bounty app, and you can kind of scroll through essentially what are assassination missions. One of them I think was for a couple of like these just generic gang members. What I didn't expect, I just thought that I'd rock up to a location and just get into a gunfight with them and just take them out and get some money. But it sort of turned into quite like an elaborate thing where I had to like commandeer a monster truck and then go and find these gang members who are like just enjoying a joyride in like the middle of the desert, and just like essentially just crash into them and like just flatten them all, and then that would attract and that would then attract the attention of like the bounty, the big leader, I suppose, who I was meant to take out. Then I had to drive my monster truck over to that location and then again just crash into like a bunch of people and flatten them, and then the leader arrives and the leader is in a monster truck themselves, so then you kind of have this monster truck off, which is absolutely excellent. So yeah, I just think like when you're in a vehicle in this game, I think that's where it like really shines. Just like very simple, like gleeful explosions, I suppose.
It sounds like enormous fun, and I'm glad that they're retaining that silliness, because that was always the part of Saints Row that appealed to me, that kind of throwaway nonsense that made especially Saints Row the Third so compelling to 20-year-old Liam. So vehicular destruction, good. If you're behind the wheel of a car or a monster truck, you're having a blast. What about when you're on foot? What about when you're doing more standard third-person shooting?
Yeah, I think this is where Saints Row stumbles a bit. It sort of takes like the shine off it. I suppose it, you know, if you kind of like just running around and there's just a cursor and you like press the right trigger or whatever and like the enemies just fall over, that's great. It's going to really appeal to you because that's largely all you do in this. It doesn't feel really any different from, you know, previous Saints Rows. It's just the same. Perhaps there is just ever so slightly more weight behind some of the guns, but a lot of the missions and the way they're set up and stuff is you are just kind of mowing through enemies that aren't particularly smart. They're kind of just there for you to knock over, like I suppose pins in a bowling alley essentially. So I sort of found that a bit tedious. It gets tedious eventually is what I'm trying to say. And they try and mix things up, so as you complete missions and, you know, defeat enemies or whatever, you'll earn XP and you'll level up. And as you begin to level up, you can go into your phone again. There's like an app where you can unlock various skills, and again, these aren't like massive skill trees with, you know, tons of options. It's largely just essentially like a battle pass kind of thing where you just have like a level 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever, and you can just as you level, you unlock a new skill. There's like one where you can kind of chuck like 3 mines, and another one where you essentially just throw a grenade. I think I mentioned these in the article. There's another one which essentially is like Deadeye for Red Dead Redemption, where you can kind of like highlight enemies and eliminate them all in one like fell swoop, kind of like a cowboy, I suppose. They're quite cool, they're quite fun, but when you're using them in combat against enemies that aren't particularly smart and the shooting and stuff doesn't maybe feel as kind of weighty or mechanically interesting as other games, like I don't know how much it really brings to the table. You use these abilities by building up, I think, what they call flow. So as you defeat enemies, you kind of build up this bar, and then you can use these skills, and then it goes on cooldown, whatever. But you can also pull off like finishers. That's your like primary way of recovering health. So you can kind of run up to enemies, they'll get highlighted in purple if you've got enough flow, and you press a button and you'll pull off like a what is quite a cool like haymaker, or I don't know, like a stone cold stunner or something. And that way you'll recover some health. But it's like fun. It's like fun the first couple of times, but like it doesn't add a huge amount. Yeah, a little bit disappointing. Your next point here is about the city itself. Yes, the city is called Santo Ileso. I think I'm pronounced that right, probably like in the most British way possible. And it's kind of like it's populated by these 3 gangs, and I don't really actually know what district I was in, but there's 9 districts. I think I must have been in the starter one, which was kind of very American Southwest. So we're sort of talking like towns in like the middle of like the desert, I suppose. Yeah. All very like sandy, and there's like cactuses around, I suppose, things like that, that kind of vibe. I was really charmed by it. It felt very arcadey. There are lots of like ramps that you could fly your car off and things like that. It sort of wanted you to have fun, and it sort of encouraged you, the way it was designed, to drift around and things. Like it wasn't going for like that I am super realistic feel. It just wanted you to crash around and have fun, and the way it was designed, I think. And there are times where I was like genuinely like, this is quite pretty. I mentioned it in the article. I was driving like a limo down this freeway, and it was nighttime, and I could kind of see all the lights of like the city in the distance. And I suppose many other games do this, but I was quite surprised that like Saints Row had delivered this like quite nice scene to me. It sort of felt like quite in contrast to all like the bombasticness of it all. Like it was quite like a serene moment. I was like, the city is capable of doing that and just like chilling out for a second. I had some synthwave on as well. Oh, that'll always help.
Any game with synthwave is a thumbs up from me, so I'm glad to
Exactly.
hear that the radio delivers. I was thinking about Steelport from Saints Row the 3rd and 4, which was by and large quite a hollow location, and it was very grey, especially in 4. I know in 4 they try to do the virtual reality angle where it was glitching out, and that was interesting, but it kind of highlighted even more how empty it felt and devoid of maybe personality in life. And what I've seen of pre-release footage and the footage that I've been watching from your preview, this just visually is more interesting, and the biome being so colourful and it being in a desert gives it so much more colour and character that I think fits the tone of the game and the activities that you're doing as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think it strikes a really good balance between this is explosive and colourful, but also it can, from what I've seen, it can kind of just tone it down a notch. If you do just want to go for like a quiet drive, you can do that. It's not always going to be hitting you with people who just want to like explode your car or knock you into walls and things like that. And yeah, I was really fond of like the desert area that I was in. I think desert areas are quite tricky actually, because they can be quite boring. It's just lots of sand and whatever. Like it's just, you go from grey to just largely like orange or yellow, but it didn't feel that way. It was
cool.
It was like quite an interesting desert scape with lots of like hills and like some shrubbery and some towns and some freeways and stuff. So it wasn't all just like one flat desert landscape.
Yeah.
There was like a real mixture of things to get stuck into. So
It sounds really varied. I'm looking forward to exploring it for myself when the game comes out. So I'm glad to hear that you've got positive impressions about the city. What's the next thing you liked?
So yeah, the other thing that I really liked was, I think I mentioned this like a touch earlier actually in this recording, but it feels like an arcadey version of GTA. I think where GTA, I suppose it is like it's a light-hearted game really. It's like a bit of a parody, but it also does take itself like fairly seriously at times. I think like it wants to deliver like this fairly realistic world and things like that. Whereas Saints Row, in sort of classic fashion, hasn't kind of lost that melodrama. Not even melodrama, but it's just like it's unafraid of being stupid.
Yeah.
And your character, even just like the very simple things, like right at the start of the game, your character just like bounces between 3 explosions and lives, and like that sort of immediately it clicks. You're like, right, I sort of understand like the boundaries of the silliness of this game already just by that. That happening. You're like, right, well, whereas in GTA maybe that one explosion would have sent you falling from a skyscraper and you'd be in hospital or whatever, and you have this like arc of like recovery. In Saints Row, obviously, like your character just shakes off like 3 massive explosions and then just goes, oh, it's like my first day at work or something, like it's just that kind of stupidness, which I really liked. And there is like an element of, they want to make sure that maybe they're not pushing the boundaries too much, because in Saints Row 4, I think it was, where it kind of, you are essentially like a superhero, and that's not quite the case here. Like they have reined it in a little bit. I sort of feel like it's a bit of a mashup between Saints Row 2, or I suppose 1 and 2, and then like 3. So it kind of meets in the middle there, I suppose.
That feels like the sweet spot for me. I think that's where I want Saints Row to be.
Yeah, again, like it kind of, I don't know, I think in a weird way, you could almost say GTA is like Forza. Right, just stay with me. And this is like Forza Horizon 5 or a Forza Horizon.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it's going for. Like it will reward you for smashing into stuff and being silly and just having a fun time. That the world is designed for you just to have fun, and it's not going to be particularly realistic or anything like that. And I don't know, like you're just going to have a fun time with this, even maybe if it's not like an incredible time with an incredible story. I think we need this sort of game.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that playfulness, the encouragement to be playful, is quite rare in open world games these days. Like, I think back to things like Sunset Overdrive on the Xbox when it came to PC eventually. That was another game that kind of just didn't take itself seriously and just gave you a lot of very cool, fun activities and mechanics to mess around with. And although a lot of open world games do that, I'm playing through MGS5 again at the moment, and there is a lot of room for playfulness there, but it's got that really melodramatic story that hangs everything together, or as you say in Saints Row, no, that's not the case at all. Like you say, you'll be rolling around on the bonnet of a car firing RPGs by hour 1, and the game is very aware of that and doesn't care. Like, that's what the experience it wants to give you. So I think that is really fun. And also it's really good that we're getting an open world game set in an urban environment that isn't GTA. As technology has improved, a lot of people are making games set in these wild fantasy environments, which is fantastic, and I love games like that. But yeah, driving around a city in a car, kind of into playing a game that lets you do that again. It has been a while, I think, since I've done that in a game that isn't GTA 5, so I'm really excited about that. But let's move on to your last point, because I'm very excited to talk about this specifically, because I think this is where the magic of Saints Row really lies, and that's that it is a true AA game.
Yeah.
So...
Yeah, 100%. So I'm just like laughing already as you're saying that, because it is just, yeah, like everything about Saints Row. I think so. When I went in for this hands-on preview, I weirdly didn't know what to expect. I kind of went in and I thought that this would be like a real kind of step forwards for Saints Row. Like this would be different. I don't know why. I just thought like, right, there's going to be some real weight behind this and whatever. But no, not really. It's built on like the foundations of the stuff that it's done in the past to the absolute T. We were talking about this and I was trying to describe it and it was like quite hard to describe. So I'll try again and probably will just stumble. But I think when you control the characters and like the feeling of controlling your character in third person as they're like walking around or whatever, it has that AA, like what I would describe like a hollow feeling, where say you were to run your character into a wall in GTA, you would kind of feel, again, I keep mentioning the word weight. I don't know why, but again.
No, I get you. I totally get you.
There's like this kind of density to your character in GTA, and if you run your character into a wall, I don't know, you'll feel it in some way. You'll just kind of get that sensation, or you'll move your joystick forwards and it will take them just that second to kind of walk forwards. Things like that. Whereas in this, it sort of feels like if you prodded your character with your finger or whatever, your finger would sort of pass straight through them.
Okay,
or you kind of walk them into a wall, they wouldn't respond at all. They would either phase through it or they would just sort of just stop dead. There'd be no kind of response from them. It kind of has that feel to it, which again is really hard to describe, but there we go. That's kind of what I felt. And immediately it kind of was like, right, I sort of know what I'm in for. It kind of just was this like response of, okay, this is kind of where this game is going for me now. Like I get this is how this is built. So yeah, I think like I love the fact that it hasn't really moved on much from like the early 2000s. Again, like the shooting mechanics are just the same. The missions that you go on, I really did enjoy them. Like they were just very simple. Just lots of like hordes of enemies kind of coming at you periodically, kind of phasing in from out of nowhere. Just all those kind of like old school sensibilities, which I think have been lost a bit as games have kind of like, I suppose technology, games have moved on, storytelling, they really try like hard to make things intricate and varied and all these kind of things nowadays, right? Whereas this just doesn't care at all. Like it's just, you're just gonna turn up to like a gang location and they're just all gonna be like NPCs dancing in one very fixed motion or something, and you're just gonna start a fight, or you'll shoot the floor or something, and immediately all of them will like stop their animation and like just sort of walk towards you, all in like unison. It has that kind of feel to it, and I quite like that. It's like zero stress, and you don't need to concentrate too hard as well. Like I just had like unabashed fun with it.
There's just a gap for games like this. We've lost this mid-tier market. You know, we don't have publishers like THQ or Midway making these £15 games that you used to buy from the bargain bin of a game station. And I miss them, because as much as a Red Dead Redemption 2 or a GTA 5 are these lavish, high production value games that deliver these incredible experiences where, like you say, Michael moves like a real man as he goes through this accurate portrayal of Los Angeles. You know, sometimes you don't want that. Sometimes you want to move like a video game character, move like some kind of horrific godlike figure that has been placed into this world to torment these identical dancing NPCs for the pleasure of some unknown being. And I don't want to sound like I'm saying these games are lesser, because I do not think they are. They offer something different to people who want different things. And, you know, if I don't want to play Horizon, or I don't want to play GTA 5, maybe I want to play a Saints Row. Maybe I want to run a monster truck over some cars, and I want to play Insurance Fraud, the minigame, and I want to get 30 hours of, you know, 7 out of 10 fun, and then put it down and say, I loved that. That gave me something that other games didn't give me. And what really excited me was when you said to me, yeah, this is a AA game. We haven't had a good AA game like this for a while. And I think that's where Deep Silver, that's where they sit in this market right now. You know, they're doing things like they're bringing out SpongeBob games and Destroy All Humans remakes and Saints Row. And God love them. They may be buying up every single developer under the sun, but at least they're delivering on their promise to fill that gap in the market. So yeah, I'm excited about this. I'm excited to hear that it's good, and that's all I wanted it to be. So roll on August.
Yeah, I'm excited to play like more of it. It is just what we need right now. I think a lot of the games that I have in my library actually are quite tiring to me, because they require so much of your mental energy. Whereas with this, it is I know I can just lounge on the sofa and I can just play it and have like a fun time, and then put it down, like you say, and just go, yeah, that was great. Had a good time, and that's all. Yeah. That's what we need right now.
Completely agree. So that's Saints Row. It's out on PC on the 23rd of August. Ed and I clearly are very excited to play a bit of that drop in, drop out co-op as well, right?
Yes.
You can just play with some pals.
Yeah, again, I didn't have a chance to sort of test that in hands-on, but yes, you can drop in, drop out. Like, it will just increase the fun levels to overdrive, I reckon.
Absolutely, yeah. Both of us in our own monster trucks, just running over the TikTok gang. Isn't that one of the factions in this?
There's like, I call them like the TikTok gang. They're kind of like people who wear helmets that are like neon, they seem a bit influency, kind of, you know, that kind of crowd. So I was like, yeah, this is like the evil, violent spawn of like a content house in my head.
Love it. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Ed. Always a pleasure to have you on the channel. If you want more PC gaming previews, keep it right here at Rock Paper Shotgun, and we'll both see you very soon. Bye for now.